It was good. We're halfway into the decade, which means that we're having to wrap up a lot of like album of the year halfway in. Albums of the decade so far. We've had a lot of classics. I did a video where I did just like 2025. I was so confused to the point where I had to base all of my opinions on how the cover art looked because I had not heard a lot of those. 2020 as a whole, like the whole decade, I've heard a lot of these. So we're gonna get a better outcome. I believe that the last one that won was Clips, which makes a lot of sense. But now as a whole decade, let's get into it. All right. First matchup we do have is a lot of like this rage sound. That's the Playboy Carti Disciples. Um, like people like this. That's Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely. The best album that came out of these, I'd have to say No Stylist by Destroy Lonely. The GOAT versus My Turn. This was like gym music. I'll go for My Turn though. Donda by Kanye West with this like OG cover. Or Utopia by Travis Scott. Which is just like a lot of Donda throwaways or Yeezy throwaways, Yeezy throwaways, Yandhi throwaways, Go to Personality throwaways. If I had to choose the better album that came out of these, I will have to go Utopia. There's a lot of songs, like the highs on Donda though, are very high. But Utopia seems a lot more consistent. So I would have to say, like, this was the start of Kanye West music taking a downfall. But so is Utopia. It looks to be like this since Trap Boys 2. So it's like in the same boat. Utopia. If Looks Could Kill by Destroy Lonely versus Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial by Roddy Ricch. I'd have to excuse you for that long ass title. But Roddy Ricch did come out with a better album. This was like Roddy Ricch in his prime. We was never able to tap back into that, unfortunately. So for what Roddy Ricch was actually able to give us, we're gonna have to go ahead and give Roddy Ricch like the win. On One Tonight. Should probably say like On One Tonight, but I actually don't know. So we do have Teen X. Yeah, Teen X by Ken Carson, On One Tonight by Gunna. I'm gonna go with the Gunna album. We've rerun Destroy Lonely for some reason, fixed this bracket. So 7220 Lil Durk, Osama Sun, or the Voice of the Heroes. Voice of the Heroes. Up to Me by Yeat or Eternal Atake. While there is some classics and like good songs off of here, off of Up to Me by Yeat, Eternal Atake was like Uzi's best, like last best album. So it will be his best album this decade too. There's just like so many hits and instant classics that came off of this. Like You Better Move. There was Homecoming, I believe. There was Secure the Bag. That Way. Everything that came off Eternal Atake is worth listening to. Pink Tape, not so much, but Pink Tape is experimental. I'll give it that. It's definitely like a test in the water type of album. Until we finally get the Uzis that we're waiting for. The Nakamura song is obviously like shout out to Shinsuke Nakamura, WWE and all that good stuff. Drake was actually in attendance after dropping this album, and he does have a Hulk Hogan bar. So Hulk Hogan versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I would have to go Shinsuke Nakamura. But for real too, like the album is better than some sexy songs for you. This could have been something, and there is like probably two songs that are goated after this. Probably one. But Whole Lot of Red was. I'm gonna drop a crazy take because it might even like pop up in a future video if I end up doing it. Whole Lot of Red, Whole Lot of Red might be the 2020s version of The Chronic, because what The Chronic did was like kickstart a whole sound, a whole new wave of music, a whole new subgenre of music being G-Funk. Then we get Doggy Style and stuff like this, which I do feel like is also a better album than The Chronic. Whole Lot of Red and The Chronic are on the same level. It's just that The Chronic came out in the 90s, which had more impact. I know I sound insane, like these walls should be padded. I understand. But better album out like this bracket, of course, is Whole Lot of Red. Alright, so we got Netspend versus Wunna. Wunna has so much good songs on this. It's got Skybox, it's got Dollars on My Head, it's got Bedbox, I believe. It's just got so much songs that I come back to. And Met Gala. This, I might actually have to find, if I found this in like Kaleidoscope Records or something like this, just like a thrift kind of vibe of vinyl store, I would definitely cop it. So Wunna is better than Netspend. Yeet or A Boogie with the Hoodie? Are we good? Everything fine? Is everything good? HDMI problems? Yeah, I'm gone. I think that should be fine. All right. Afterlife by Yeet or A Boogie with a Hoodie with Artist. I believe I do write with A Boogie with a Hoodie, but I didn't really listen to this album. I listened to Artist 2.0. So I'm not really familiar with this one right here. But I do remember like The Streets Don't Love You. I remember the song with Uzi, I believe. Like a lot of good songs came off of Artist 2.0, but that's not this album. I remember like one song off of this, and that's the only thing that's given it a head start. Project X or Dot Lane demo tapes. I believe that Dot Lane demo tapes has a lot of real Drake classics on there, like Chicago Freestyle, such as Chicago Freestyle, When to Say When. You have the War. War is not really a Drake classic though. War is just like a cool song. But When to Say When in Chicago's Freestyle. Not U2 with Chris Brown as well, and D4L. So this is a stacked track list. Hair Loss versus Chromacopia. As a whole, because this has a lot of songs on here. So does this. Like this starts like to get annoyed. You have Doll and I, Take Your Mask Off, Sticky. There's so much more like bangers on here than there is on here. Like there is the bangers that come off of this, like the hits that come off of Hair Loss, end up being played in the club. But Chromacopia is more for the inside boys. That's who I am, you know what I mean? That's a Flower Boy vinyl right there. Chromacopia has to win. Ken Carson with Great Chaos. Great, or One by Lil Baby. All right. Um, Great Chaos has a lot of songs on there too. We want to talk about SS. We want to talk about Glock in My Lap. Nah, that sounds stupid. I don't think it's called Glock in My Lap. There's a title similar to that, but it's all like, it might even be from a Destroy Lonely album there, so I'm just like bullshitting there. But like two things I never seen. A guy that could be a gun and a bitch I need. That track and SS. That's like the only two songs I know of that, but Wham only really has stuff and ASA Gang. Like Wham is a good album, but because of the impact that this probably had over this, like not for this, but over this, like for the subgenres that the full Great Chaos has to win. True to Myself by Lil TJ or A Gift and a Curse by Gunna. The best album out of these two has to be A Gift and a Curse. Fuck you mean. Certified Lover Boy or GNX, which is crazy. Especially since 2024. I already know my answer. But I do believe that there is a lot of classics that come from Certified Lover Boy. I know that they have fair trade on there's some introspective cuts that you get on there. Like when Drake is introspective, you get like the best out of Drake. If he happens to throw a little like singing on there, that ends up being one of his best songs. That's Drake for you. GNX though, that's so introspective with a lot of like classics on there off the rip. Gloria is an amazing song. That's my favorite song off of the album. You have GNX, like the title track, which is so quirky and hilarious, but also like it's experimental in a way, innovative. For West Coast, for the West Coast, which did remind me a lot of what Ready to Die was doing for the East Coast. But I can't get too comparing. I've probably pissed a lot of people off already, so matter of fact, that's a good thing. That's exactly what I'm here to do. Make you think. GNX or Certified Lover Boy, GNX. It has to be. We're in a whole different round. Afterlife by Yeat or 7220 by Lil Durk. We're gonna go with Durk. Winner or Pink Tape. These might be on the same level, but the songs that come off of Winner, I've been listening to a lot more than the songs that came off of Pink Tape. Like, I do enjoy Zoom, and I do enjoy, like, I don't really enjoy a lot of these songs, but there's a couple on the that I'm trying to remember at least, you know what I mean? So Winner has to win for the, like, this is Gunna's best album. Gunna went crazy for this. It dropped on the same day that Logic dropped GP4, which was supposed to be his retirement album. And you know what? He didn't, but the albums that he came out with after that, Logic I'm talking about, is on par with his retirement album. So I guess there was a need to come back after dropping all of that, like, industry plant stuff. But for Gunna, he does beat Uzi's Pink Tape. He won't beat Eternal to Take though. Whole Lotta Red by Playboy Carti or Dartlane demo tapes by Drake. Like, come on, bro. Whole Lotta Red is insane. Like, so simply insane. Darlene demo tapes deserves a lot of Drake. Like, Drake at his best. As a whole album, for the 2020s decade, it has to be Playboy Carti, Whole Lotta Red. Utopia or Roddy Ricch, please excuse me for being antisocial. The Bugs is cool. High Fashion is great. There's Perfect Time, so on and so forth. There's Delestro Echoes, Modern Jam, Telekinesis, My Eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I could go more with the track list of Utopia than I could for the Roddy Ricch album that we have here. So the answer that I'm gonna have to go for as well, because the experience outside of everything, like outside of just the album, he dropped Circus Maximus the movie, and then also revisited the Astroworld festival, which wasn't the tragedy one, but was post that. So controversial, but interesting rollout for Utopia. And then getting to design the stages at Coachella. Like, I remember being in debate with my mom about if Tyler the Creator and Green Day was performing at the same festival, who are they choosing to headline, be the headline artist? I was obviously saying Tyler the Creator because I knew that it's exactly how it would go down. And my mom was talking about Green Day, which is fine, because if it was the 90s, it would be the case. You know what I mean? Like Prime, yes, but after the Unicorn album, probably not. So I was right, because the year after Tyler the Creator headlined Coachella, Green Day was announced to headline Coachella. Who did they swap Green Day out for? Travis Scott. That's insane. Bro, I don't know a lot, but I know about music, bro. My Turn by Lil Baby or Eternal Take. If you were going to the gym, which I don't do a lot, but should do, and like when I do, my favorite albums to listen to come from like Gunna and Lil Baby, like the Atlanta side. My Turn is such a good album for that. Like, My Turn is outside music. But Eternal Take is track for track for track for track for track for track. Lil Durk versus Gunna. I'm gonna have to go for Gunna. Chromacopia versus GNX. I would go for GNX. It's already in my album of the year list last year. GNX actually took my album of the year. Chromacopia was near enough an honorable mention, but did end up making the list. So GNX. A Great Chaos by Ken Carson or On One Tonight. I'm gonna have to go with A Great Chaos. Eternal Take versus GNX. Fire. Definitely fire, because you do get hip hop versus rhythm and poetry right here. Some of the best examples of all time when it comes to artists of both sides. Eternal Take, when that dropped, it was a cool vibe. I was still in high school. I was before COVID. This album dropped before COVID. Imagine how much this album was a good time until like the week after. So like Eternal Take dropped when I was just about to go on holiday too. And that holiday was like the first holiday we've ever had as a family since. That was a long time coming. So I think I was about 14. I'm 20 now, so 6 years ago. That was a good time, bro. That was like the first ever, like, as household. We never went on a holiday for real, for real. The pool was not available, but the vibes were. GNX though, GNX is definitely the better album of the two. It's the lead up to the Super Bowl. It's the back end of the Drake versus Kendrick beef. It's track for track too. I believe the highs of GNX are also better than the highs of Eternal Atake, but the Eternal Atake highs are worth listening to, like worth your time. Whole Lotta Red by Playboi Carti versus Wonder by Gunna. I'd have to say Whole Lotta Red this time. But this is a great album. I promise you, if you haven't listened to this already, go ahead, bro. But Whole Lotta Red is a better album. Like, if I could see them being on the same level. Like, I could be like nose blind in a sense and see that they're on the same level and have the same smell. If I was like 35, like the 35 age where you stop listening to new music, so everything just seems like it's on the same level, has the same impact. No real like waves are being made, but Whole Lotta Red made a tsunami. 7220 by Lil Durk versus A Gift and a Curse by Gunna. I'm gonna have to go with. By the way, free Durk. It's crazy that P Diddy is getting freed before Durk. That's insane. So out of these two, like, not because of that, but out of these two, musically and album wise, it would have to be A Gift and a Curse. A Great Chaos by Ken Carson versus Utopia by Travis Scott. I'm gonna have to go Utopia by Travis Scott, of course. GNX versus A Gift and a Curse, GNX. Whole Lotta Red versus Utopia, Whole Lotta Red, come on now. 2020's Chronic. We got the Chronic versus Ready to Die, that's crazy. If I had to choose out of these two, of course I do. Otherwise, I'll just like X off the website. Now things get hard, pause. Because these albums might be on the same level when it comes to as a whole project. I could see them definitely being on the same level in that sense. I know that Kendrick Lamar's GNX highs are probably a lot more interesting, more like detailed, more intentional. But then the Playboi Carti is like just full of energy. Like even them little throwaways aren't really throwaways. Just because the vibes are there, to be fair. So like it's like hip hop, the highest form of hip hop this decade probably, versus the highest form of rhythm and poetry of all time. I gotta give more time to GNX, bro. I've gotta give you more time for me to listen to because you only came out last year. A lot of red ones. That's the real winner too. That's crazy. Of course, I'm fine with it though. I'll definitely put I'll definitely say that Whole Lotta Red might be the best album that dropped. Is that true? Well, no. I mean, like this decade, but is that true? No. Because what we're forgetting is the Forever Story. What we're forgetting is the Clips album that dropped. What we're forgetting is there were so many albums that wasn't really worth taking a placement compared to some of the albums that we've not seen on that bracket. Like we did not see Simbi sometimes I might be introvert. We did not see like LP by JPEG Mafia. We didn't see a lot of albums that should have made that list. So Whole Lotta Red might have won out of all of those, but Whole Lotta Red is not the best album that dropped this decade. That's the summary. That's the overall. That's like, comment, subscribe. That's out. That's column. That's peace. Out.